I'm Helen Martin, and I'm a healthy 8-year ovarian cancer survivor. I was diagnosed as stage 3C ovarian cancer in 2005 at age 61. My mother and an aunt had ovarian cancer and did not survive 5 years in the 1980s. I was in a successful remission for 5 years before I had my first recurrence, and I am now in my third recurrence. I've probably been happier in the last 8 years than I've been in my entire life, because you don't waste a minute. You do what you feel like doing. You do what you think you should do, and nothing holds you back. Nothing holds me back. I've continued to dance. I never missed a dance class, and I still dance 4, 5, 6 hours a week. And so it keeps a smile on my face. I didn't have one symptom. My disease whispered. There was no sound at all. If I hadn't been one to go for my regular checkups, I wouldn't be here. So when I talk to people, I say you could have one, some, or none of the symptoms. It's just one more way, I guess, in another direction that you go at asking women to just be cognizant of their own health, their own feelings, their own body parts, and anything that's unusual or something that isn't normal for them, they have to get it checked out, and they have to get someone to validate it for them, and keep going till you find someone that will actually listen to you. There's so many poor excuses out there for the symptoms of ovarian cancer, because they're so common and mundane that even doctors who haven't had an experience with this will dismiss them as just normal female complaints. But I think women are too busy to just complain for no reason these days, and they need to be attended to. I would have to say the difficulty about an illness for me, and this illness, was having to tell family and friends. I was fine with it. Knew I'd have to do this. And coming home from the diagnosis, I said to my husband, this is going to be harder on you than it is on me. And then we had to tell our kids, and then we had to tell our friends and extended family, and that was the hardest part. It also became even harder as you told them about recurrence, because even though I knew I could do this, they probably didn't know I could do this. And so that was very, very difficult. But I'm me, and sharing is what I do. It's not easy for me to be quiet about anything. What came back to me in love and support was unbelievable. It was the life-saving ring. But because I was positive, or at least not morbid about the illness, if you can share with people and see that that you're fighting this and you're strong, they take your lead, and they react the same back to you, and it just is the sort of thing you teach other people how to do this sort of thing, but you also get such support and prayers, and it's actually been a wonderful experience. And I hope people who love and care for me have learned from it that it's not the end of the world. As we like to say, cancer is a word, not a sentence. I'm still here. I'm still doing all the things, and in many, many, many cases, people can do that. I always feel if you're an active partner with your medical team, and be as knowledgeable as you can, they do appreciate your input. If you're knowledgeable and you're caring and you're not hysterical, they will discuss it with you. They'll ask you what you want to do. It empowers you, and again, helps to make you stronger and helps to make you feel well, because they're actually listening to you, and you're part of that team. And you keep self-pity at bay if you're not feeling sorry for yourself. Now, I know if you're terribly ill and you have a different kind of personality, you may react differently. This is just who I am. It didn't come after the illness. I was like this before, I guess. It just seemed to strengthen the personality. So that the sharing, I think, is important, because the support you get from other people is as important as the healing that your doctors give you. And I would recommend to anyone that they open up and let people help them. In many cases, a woman who begins to have problems, her doctor, of course, will refer her to a gynecologist. And I can only speak to what I say to friends of mine when I hear these stories, is that, and that's fine because gynecologists, of course, were around probably before gyne-oncologists. And that's what doctors do, they refer you there. But if there's any suspicion, if there's any doubt, or even after the gynecologist indicates there might be a possibility of cancer, you get yourself out of there and get to a gyne-oncologist. Even saying, and people don't like to do that maybe with their own doctor, but if it were me now and I was sent to a gynecologist and they said, well, you know, I think it might be, the answer would be, would you please refer me to someone at the cancer clinic? Would you please refer me to a gyne-oncologist? Because they know this disease. They know what to go for. Their surgery is even slightly different. So getting in the hands of the oncologist is just imperative. And I can't stress that enough to women I meet that discuss having hysterectomies. And I'll ask them, well, why is it suggested, and you know, what is the concern, and say, well, you know, a gynecologic oncologist probably won't deal with you if there's no concern, but that's where you need to be if there is. I think getting through that first 5 years as happily and as well as I did, that was a bonus. So whatever happened beyond that, I could deal with, and it isn't something that, even though I'm actually in a third recurrence at the moment, it's not something that really concerns me. I know it probably sounds strange, but I'm just grateful for all the good health I've had, the good times I've had, because I've never felt sick in 8 years. I've never reacted to the chemotherapy, the surgery, or anything. So I just do what I always do. And when my blood test doesn't look so good, then I do what I know how to do. So no, it's not a, it's a threat because it's a fact, but it's not a threat to my well-being and my contentedness. But it's true, you're always a cancer survivor. Well, it's always there, and in most cases, people do suffer recurrences, and so it's a fact of life, and people have to be realistic about that. But you enjoy those good days. You make the most of those good days. If you're worrying about having a bad day, you never have a good day. So unless there's bad news, I guess my head's in the sand and I just carry on.